The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Faster Mike, good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. So, do you think taxis on the Isle of Man should be electric? That's the question government's asking. The Climate Change Transformation Team wants to gather information about the feasibility of electrifying the Isle of Man's fleet. They're launching a survey of taxi drivers. When it says the Isle of Man's fleet, they're individual taxi drivers, aren't they? It's not like it's a corporate fleet. It's not like it's a common uniform that they all have. In many other cities, all taxis have to be painted in a certain way. Our taxis are all different. There's no fleet, is there? Is there? Have you got any thoughts on this? Perhaps you are a taxi driver yourself, or maybe you are hired by the plate owner. I just wonder what you feel about electric vehicles and your experience. Some for, some against. I'd like to know what you would think as a passenger. Would it make your heart leap to get into an electric vehicle, or just the same? Depends how much it costs, of course, doesn't it? And taxi drivers will be, as business customers, I guess, writing the cost of the and the write down of the value off as a business expense. So it's possible. But any thoughts on that? And also becoming a politician. A meeting's been organised for residents of Peel interested in standing as a commissioner in the local authority elections come April. The Commissioner, Hazel Hannon, reckons it's important for democracy if there's an election in the town, so people have a choice of who they want to represent them. She and Vorry Heaton will be holding a meeting on the 27th of February to the Peel Centenary Centre from 7:30. So that's a fortnight today at the Peel Centenary Centre, 7:30, and they want to encourage new people to join the commissioners. If you're in Peel, and again, this the point of it being a democracy, actually an election, a contest. Quite often we see empty places just taken by people who want to stand, and they just get shooed into that. Have you got any thoughts on this? I mean, we always talk about our proud democracy and the fact that something we take for granted, very much take for granted. Around the world, democracy, costs blood and treasure. Anyway, thoughts. That's a fortnight today, Peel Centenary Centre at 7:30 if you want to become a commissioner. David's first with us today. Hi, David.
Hi, mate. I just want to add to the school you had, St. Ninians, the other day there, and it remitted me not to talk about it. What a great bunch of individuals there. Had courtesy. But the saddest thing about it was, Andy, they weren't taught about politics, either local or national.
It's bizarre. They said they've got, they do politics as a lesson, but I think somebody mentioned, in passing, they mentioned that we got the oldest democracy in the world, the oldest parliament in the world, but that was about it, and nothing about the Isle of Man. I know, I find that astonishing.
I do too. Maybe they know more about Donald Trump and what's going on in America.
Well, that's the point, isn't it, David? That they get force-fed UK politics, European, the EU, and they see Donald Trump non-stop. And our politics is kind of limited to the Isle of Man. But, of course, they live here, they'll pay tax here, and their life is impacted by every sort of policy and law.
Yeah, and the other thing, when you were talking to them, and I agree with them, there's lots of sport on the Isle of Man. Football, rugby, hockey, I'll miss somebody out, netball, basketball, all sorts of things. And I listened to I think it was the young lady that said something about what it costs £3 something to swim. The problem is, it's a shame really there wasn't a question and answer with them to say, well, every facility that runs like the NSC or even the Roundhouse, and I'm not speaking on their behalf, but it's a great facility on each of them. I play indoor bowls, and I really enjoy it because it never rains indoor.
Yes, okay.
And you don't have to worry about. There's a cafe upstairs. There's all sorts of things to do, but it's a shame we didn't know. And one of the confusing things I listened to was because social media got a grip of something called, they were doing manhunt, which I don't really know. So I don't know whether it's any of the students still listening. They may be, because they'll probably want a reaction what's happened there. And it's up to us, as what they say, us oldies, as he said on the radio there, to get to grips with what do they want and what can we do, and maybe explain to them everything is not free in the Isle of Man.
Well, and of course, I find myself, whenever I chat to the sixth formers, trying to remember when I was 16, what I was obsessed with when I was 16. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think it was politics at the time. I don't think so. 16-year-olds are, they come in different shapes and sizes, and they come with different kind of attributes and different aspirations. So they're a cross section.
Yeah, but one of the things that I thought was really proud was when they said something about if somebody wanted a seat or open a door or fell over, they would help a person. And that's what I like about the younger generation. We got to instill that. We are a community here in the Isle of Man, a community in Onken as well. And if I'd love to find out if the panel would get in touch with me to find out what manhunt means.
Okay. Well, I'm sure there's somebody who knows. If anybody can tell us what manhunt is, then do get in touch. And the other thing, I can't let you go without asking you completely independently. We're talking about Hazel Hannon running this thing in Peel about becoming a commissioner. What inspired you, David, to go for the public vote?
Trade union. I was in a T&G with Moffey, well before Moffey. And we got involved in I got involved in some issue where I was treated unfairly. My father was a T&G member, a gold member in the T&G Regional 6, where they used to have conferences in the Isle of Man. And that's the thing with the government too. Why are we using the Villa Marina now? It's upgraded to attract some of these conferences here. Send an email out and somebody will respond to you, yes or no. But I got involved and then I got into local politics. Was I a rebel? I may have been at the time. But you then mature, don't you? There's things that can be done and things that can't be done. And if you want to do things, you need money. Whether we like it or not, money stimulates growth in the Isle of Man as a national politician. But even as a local member there for Onken there, if we want to do things, and I'm not preaching to anybody, but at the end of the day, we have to pay the wages, we have to pay the staff, and we've got a great place, and this is the publicity for me. Onken Park is going to be a great place to be when the summer comes. Right?
Okay, all right. Appreciate it, David. Thanks for that.
See you.
Good to hear from you. An MHK claims the U-turn on changes to the triple lock is a victory for fairness. What about fairness to the workers paying to keep the current pensioners, hoping there are going to be enough workers to pay in the future? This is a story this morning. How it's the news about the pension in the future, and the Manx State pension is set for a 4.1% increase under the triple lock policy. Isle of Man Treasury is proposing a 4.1% increase to both the basic retirement pension and the Manx State pension in next week's budget, aligning with the UK's triple lock policy. The decision follows that debate in the House of Keys on the future uprating of the Manx State pension, where MHK has called for greater public consultation on changes aimed at ensuring the long-term sustainability of the National Insurance Fund. Dr. Allinson said more time was needed to build consensus on securing the fund and protecting pensions. I think Treasury has done a U-turn on pension and increased to 4.1%, says Pat 223. Treasury is doing this as they don't want any scrutiny on the, Pat's word, theft of the NI funds and where the money has been used. Raising the state pension age has resulted in extra NI being paid and savings on not paying out pensions to the tune of 100 million per year. Treasury doesn't want to know where the money has gone. Has the government considered electrifying their own vehicle fleet before trying to impose on private taxi businesses, says James. This is not really government, it's the climate transformation team that want to gather information about the feasibility of electrifying taxis on the Isle of Man, and we'll hear from some people with opposing opinions. Isle of Man Air Traffic Services has received an award from the president of the Guild of Air Traffic Control Officers, apparently. Well done, and recognition from their fellow professionals. They're doing what they do. They're doing what they can to keep the airport open. Thank you, Joe sent me it. GATCO's President Award for the Isle of Man ATS team. The Isle of Man Ronaldsway Air Traffic Services has been awarded a GATCO President's Award for the work that they've done, the challenges they've faced over the past 2 years. At that time, the unit's been coping with a reduced number of ATCOs, air traffic controllers, and ATSAs, resulting in a number of daily airport closures for mandatory fatigue breaks. This peaked at 5 per day in summer 2023. But they've just got an award. Well, thank you, Joe, for telling us that. We don't have proper politics to teach young people, says 376. Well, I'm not quite sure what you mean, 376. We do have politics. So, by proper politics, what do you mean? I mean, politics on the Isle of Man affects everyone. Everything you do is affected by politics. Everything that you walk down a street, it's been governed by a law that's in statute, that's been drafted, been voted on. Everything we do, from buying a pint in a pub to buying a cup of coffee, there are all government regulations around everything. So the fact that the students don't get taught Manx politics, how do you feel about that? There may be students who go through all their education, 13 years of education, not even knowing what Manx politics is, what the House of Keys does, what Legislative Council does, what position the Lieutenant Governor is, the history of it all, President of Timble, Speaker of the House of Keys, what it all does, and who pays for it. Well, we know who pays for it, but what its aim is. And the Isle of Man's got a proud tradition of democracy. If I got an electric car, my only thought would be that for the adults and children suffering mining rare earth minerals. The guilt trip, says 380, electric vehicles are going the way of the dodo. So why are we playing the climate transformation people to sit and virtue signal, ignoring what really is going on in the world? Well, it's their job. Anonymous, this is. They are the climate transformation team, so they're there to do it. The soon-to-be new German leaders promised to fast-track 50 new gas-powered power stations, and we're still flogging this dead horse. But it is public policy, and thank you for that. Here's Howard with us now. Hi, Howard.
Hi, Andy. Just a train of thought that probably a lot of people won't think about. With your aircraft, etc., EasyJet, well, they're obviously like Ryanair, a low-cost airline and flying all over Europe. And the problem is at the moment a shortage of new aircraft. Airbus and apparently, well, obviously Boeing just can't keep pace with the demand for new aircraft. And I was reading about it the other day with EasyJet. The fleet, they want to renew a lump of their present aircraft and can't because the unavailability, and they're not building them quick enough or can't build them quick enough, Airbus. And this is causing problems throughout the whole, not only EasyJet, Ryanair, Emirates, the whole airline companies are all suffering from the same problems, a lack of new aircraft. And there's just one order just gone in for 100 new aircraft, and that won't be able to be fulfilled until the 2030s. So this is one of the things, and if EasyJet come to the Isle of Man with half an aircraft half full, they're going to change that aircraft, which makes good business sense, to go out of somewhere, let's say Manchester to Lanzarote, full, and return full back again. That's good business sense, and as they say, it's a business decision. And if the number of aircraft that are available increased, then we might get our services back. But at the moment, the holiday season is coming up, their busy season, and they want bums on seats to make up their financial structure. Because you listen to O'Leary from Ryanair, and he's playing hell because he can't get Boeing. He's got a whole fleet of Boeing aircraft, and he can't get them because of the restrictions put on because of the crashes, etc., and flaws in the aircraft. He can't get his new aircraft. So he is also talking about cutting back on the number of flights he can do. So it's not largely, I suppose the Isle of Man, the problems here have a small contributory part, but it's largely down to the availability, I should imagine, of new aircraft to replace the aging fleet that some of these.
And also, Howard, there aren't as many regional airlines as there used to be. I mean, there used to be lots of little ones around the UK, but apart from, there's the one that goes between here and Jersey, what's it called, Blue Islands.
They used to come here.
Yeah. But, I mean, we've only got Logan Air, really, whereas before there used to be, what was it called? What was the one? Flybe. That was the one that used to come and go, didn't it?
Yeah.
We had Flybe before that. Obviously, the late lamented Manx Airlines. Air UK, there was one that used to fly around a lot.
That's right.
But there aren't as many now.
No. Well, Manx Airlines was part of British Midland Airways. Michael, I can't remember his second name now, but they started up here. It was Cambrian. They used to come in, and as I say, we used to refer to them as Regret Airlines because we regret the delay, or we regret that it's been cancelled, and that was a nickname that was on it, Regret for Cambrian. But they combined and made up what we knew then as Manx Airlines. Correctly, they say it was based here. They had Viscount House down there, which is still operational, but it's all part of the government sector now. But Manx Airlines was a combination of several aircraft companies and BMI. Somebody will tell me what the name of the surname of the chap that owned it. But it was part of BMI, and they were the largest, and they built up. Because I remember they had little aircraft, 9-seaters. I've been away on a 9-seater aircraft that was chartered to Manx Airlines, my wife and I. And this is one of the farcical parts about it, in a sense, if you could say that. When we put our luggage on the scales down at Ronaldsway here, took the luggage off and said, "Okay, can you get on the scales, please?" And we had to stand on the scales so they could balance the weight out in the aircraft. All passengers had to do it going on this aircraft. And that was the way they trimmed the aircraft out. It was the uniqueness of a small airline.
Yeah, but the thing, Howard, is though that the more connectivity that we have, then the better it is for people coming and going from the Isle of Man. Because there's nothing worse than not being able to get somewhere on time when you want to go. But if EasyJet are pulling out, and I think there's another one called Eastern Airways. I think that's still going,
yes.
And BA have got a subsidiary, I think, called City Flyer. So
City Flyer, yeah.
But there aren't any. I mean, the minister said the other day they're talking to other airlines, but we don't know who. Oh, and talking of small airplanes, do you remember there was a little one called British Northwestern that used to fly into Blackpool?
That's right.
I think the captain used to pass around the coffee.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, the one that used to go down to East Midlands, again, it was that one with those little let aviation things, and he used to climb on board, and they'd hold about 17 people, and you were sitting looking in the cockpit while they were reading their plans of where they were going to go. But the first officer used to stand at the bottom of the steps when you're getting on and give you a boiled sweet. These are the little things that you miss on the majority of larger airlines.
Yeah. Oh, apparently it was Michael Bishop.
Bishop, that's it.
Who was the boss there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just couldn't think of it. But he was the overall boss of BMI, etc. And they got their heads together and formed what was Manx Airlines. And they're very successful, but they became Manx Airlines Europe. And they were flying They stretch their wings a little too far. In fact, I was only looking at a thing the other night with the Jetstream 41s, and Manx Airlines was the largest purchaser of this particular aircraft, BAC.
Okay.
But it's one of those things that, as I said yesterday, be careful what you wish for, because if you pull the back out of it, and British Airways wanted those slots in Heathrow, and they got it as a bargain. And unfortunately, that was the demise of that. But it's one of the different things in life. After the COVID, everybody was stuck. They got rid of a lot of the staff, ground staff, airline staff, and they've got a job to recruit them now.
Okay, all right.
But somebody asked yesterday about that aircraft that sit outside a hangar down there.
Yeah.
And that was the people that used to do the paper deliveries and mail deliveries, and they were all ATPs. They had a fleet of ATPs, and it's one that's sitting up outside the military museum. Was one of their aircraft, because they got rid of them and they've changed to 737s. They're still flying this company, but they're not based here anymore.
Okay, all right, Howard, appreciate that.
Take care. Bye now.
Good to hear from you. So can you tell me, are there any other regional airlines in the UK that we could possibly look to, or who may be eyeing the Isle of Man? There's Aurigny, the one owned by the Guernsey government, BA City Flyer, the Blue Islands one that flies from the Isle of Man to the Channel Islands, Eastern Airways, and our own lovely Logan Air. But connectivity to the Isle of Man is really important, very important. Particularly, I mean, one of the big things, Department for Enterprise is looking at getting business here. And if business people can't hop on and hop off and get to the Isle of Man when they want, then it diminishes our offering, doesn't it? We're not as attractive as we would otherwise be. So we need connectivity. We have to be able to get to and from the Isle of Man. Right, well, Eddie's on now. Hi, Eddie.
Hi, Andy. All right, mate?
Very well, thanks. Yes, very well.
Good. 3 little things. I was busy yesterday. I couldn't get on. Pensions first. I started work in 1963, and I was under the impression then, when I started paying tax and insurance, that that would go into a pension fund and your health and the taxes, so on, for whatever. But that pension fund, I've been paying all my life, and surely by the time I 50 odd years of work, paying tax and insurance, it mounts up. But I was under the impression that's my money in a pension fund. So somewhere along the line, the government have dipped into it and borrowed it. And I'm wondering, have they ever paid it back with the interest? Because if they haven't, surely that will interfere with the forecast that they're giving of 2047. And really speaking, I don't want them to touch any more of my pension fund until they've paid back what they already owe, plus interest.
Okay.
So that is one point. The other one is, I listened to some of your program on Tuesday with the St. Ninians. Yeah. And it sort of made it sort of fact about what we were suggesting, that if the kids in the south are all fully aware of this wind farm, which they are, they gave a totally different impression of your question about the wind farms as anybody in the north or the west or Douglas. And, you had your man on earlier saying that they don't teach them anything about politics in schools. But they also don't teach them anything about the truth about wind farms, do they? The facts all about it. And I suggested last time that they let some of the people who understand about wind farms, the do's and the don'ts, teach them. I mean, they're at the age where they're going to get a vote. And it will mean an awful lot to the Isle of Man if they vote wrong. Excuse me.
Yeah. And finally?
And finally, I asked Beth while you were on holiday if she could find out for me when the government are putting the planning in for the wind farm. She said she would find out, but we've heard nothing since. Have you any idea? Or
no, but no doubt Beth will be listening, so we'll be straight on that. Presumably, as we haven't heard, nobody quite knows yet. Well, I'm sure they know, but we haven't quite heard.
Yeah. Well, just to finish off then, on the wind farms in Victoria in Australia, there's 3 massive big wind turbine companies have all decided not to renew anything and get rid of them. So there's another nail in the coffin for them, isn't there?
Okay, all right. Appreciate it, Eddie.
Andy.
Thanks for calling today.
Bye.
Cheers now, 28 minutes before 1. It just dawned on me, says Nick, that our government collectively should all have a go at playing one of those SimCity video games. Then they'd learn so much about infrastructure, how you need to have certain things in place to attract people and build the economy. So, well, there we are. It's a thought, isn't it? Nick, that's a very good thought. So, have you played SimCity? It's quite compelling. By the way, that plane's an old Saab, says Wolfie. And David says, encourage conferences to come to the villa. We can't get delegates to and from the Isle of Man reliably due to the airline fiasco. That's why a lot of conferences don't come here. Good point. The people who, and you, if you fly quite often, you'll know if you've been stuck at Gatwick, you go out, down that half a mile and a half you have to walk to gate 704 at Gatwick to get to the plane. And then they'll say, by the way, we're not flying. Or you could get as far as the plane and they say, we're not flying. Or you could even take off, get halfway to the Isle of Man and you go back. You, as a resident of the Isle of Man, will shrug your shoulders and say, well, them's the breaks. But imagine if somebody's coming from the first time. What do they think of us? What do they think? That in 2025, in the 21st century, a first world country can't organise it. Can't organise getting enough air traffic controllers so the planes will land on time. And then they say we have to attract business. Thanks for the post office can't run their electric vans in the winter months as they can't finish their rounds as they run out before they finish the round. So they're back to the old vans. It's a waste of money. This is WhatsApp of 531. We'll take your word for it. Whether the post office do or don't, we don't quite know. If students are against wind farms, they're too young and don't know anything. But if they're against wind farms, they're educated and informed, says Steve. Thanks for that. Let's get back to the lines. Wilf's on. Oh, hi, Wilf.
All it is, Andy, was I was just to tell everybody that I was back.
Oh, you're back home.
I'm back home. I'm sitting in my chair. I'm listening to the Mannin Line. I haven't got any sort of news as such because I haven't been out to get any news. But I've just heard on here now about electric taxis. Well, they can forget that. The taxi boys will not go for that. They can forget that lot. But what I really want to come on for was to thank... they won't be listening because they haven't got the time. Is the people in the hospital. The wonderful treatment that I had. Nobody could say any better than me that what I had was the best. They're a wonderful outfit, and I've got to. I can't thank them enough. That's all I wanted to do.
What did they think of you, Wilf?
Oh, they couldn't make much sense out of me at all.
Okay.
There was a lot of laughs and what have you, seeing a lot of swearing and whatever. But, I think they kind of. Well, I think they kind of took to me a bit.
Right.
Very pretty nurses. Pretty well.
Wilf, they often get... I mean, you hear people from time to time giving nobles a bit of stick. So your opinions, what then, in general?
Wonderful. A wonderful place. Couldn't be better. And the trip is it's like a restaurant. They come round with a what do you want for your dinner and all this business, you see. And normally, when I've been in hospital before, I hated hospital food, but I got to like it. so I thought, do I want to get out of here or not? I was in there for a month, actually. So I've ate lots of it. But the treatment, wonderful.
All right.
Wonderful set of people.
All right.
And nothing is too much trouble.
Take care of yourself, Wilf. Look after yourself.
I'm never going to do that. I never have done yet.
All right. I knew you'd say that. All right. Thanks a lot.
I'll be back to rattle a few cages.
All right. Cheers now. It's 23 minutes before 1. Wilf, out of Nobles Hospital, our outside broadcast correspondent at Braddon is now back in Ramsey.
Oh, blowing a hoolie out there.
Come in for a bravig by the fire. Just stocked up at Hearth. Never been so warm.
Who's that? Hearth?
Aye, they've got kiln-dried hardwood for me log burner, Colombian coal and smokeless ovals for the open fire, kindling and firelighters all delivered. Great value too.
All goes up the chimney anyway, so I pay more. I'll be giving Hearth a call.
Check their website as well. Just order and they deliver.
For all your fire fuel needs, call Hearth on 560 577 or visit hearth.co.com.
Well, today I'm going to talk about the finest bathrooms in town. Hello, cheeky monkey. I hope you're going to recommend Paysetter. Of course. Wow. It's where all the cool cats go. Yes, smart cats like you choose Paysetter for a wide range of stylish designs and superb expert advice. Squawk! Paysetter! Paysetter! That's right, Polly. The magic starts when you visit Paysetter Tile and Bathroom Studio, Harris Terrace, Douglas, or search online for Paysetter Douglas.
Want to find out about life assurance, critical illness cover and income protection from the experts? Worried insurance companies don't pay out? Come to Financial Options' free seminar in association with Aviva on the 20th of February. Find out how much insurance companies pay out and what you're covered for. Learn about these essentials and protect your family or business. For details, visit Financial Options on Facebook. Chase Financial Services Limited, trading as Chase Wealth Solutions and Financial Options, is regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
A late win saw FC Isle of Man claim victory on their travels last weekend. Can they find that taste of success again this weekend, this time back on home territory? This Saturday, the Ravens return to the bowl with Ronaldsway Town, the latest side, looking to claim a result on Manx shores. Join me, Rob Pritchard and Tony Mepham for FC Isle of Man versus Ronaldsway Town, kicking off this Saturday at 6 p.m. Manx Radio will be bringing you full live match commentary on our DAB and AM 1368 channels. Live coverage of FC Isle of Man on Manx Radio is supported by Selton, investing in our community.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
And we'll see whether Steve Whitley can grab another couple. And remember to listen to Rob Pritchard. I don't know whether you've heard Rob. When he gets excited, he sounds like this.
Is Whitley in on the edge of the box on that right? Surely not another! Oh, would you believe that? They've gone up the other end and they have won it all again. FC Isle of Man 2, AFC Liverpool 1. Straight from the restart down the right-hand side.
He doesn't calm down for about 3 days. Julian's on now. Hi, Julian.
Hi, Andy. Good to hear Wilf back in such good form. You can hear it in his voice.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah. Just a couple of different things. To do with, I think Michelle Hayward said that we have to understand that the airport is struggling after COVID. And also, you know, somebody else said that it's silly for us to have our own airline. So how does that explain Guernsey making over 4 million profit in 22 and also in 23? So that's after COVID, and they've turned everything around. So I don't see that those two statements make sense.
Well, I mean, there are two things, aren't they? I mean, it's been said in the past that Aurigny, the Guernsey Airlines, the Channel Islands' own airline, loses money some years and makes money the other years. But at the back of it, it provides the Channel Islands with a definite link that they can control out of the Channel Islands to London, to the south coast of England and elsewhere. And it's something that they obviously decided about when it was nationalised, when they bought it. It's something that they wanted to safeguard. And so there's nothing precarious about connectivity to the Channel Islands, and they have made sure of that by putting public money into it. Now, we have what we have.
Yeah, and not forgetting that their runway is 2,000 feet shorter than ours, so they can't even have Airbuses or 737s on it. And yet they've got, 54% more flights a day, and they're making a profit. And also, of course, business depends on reliability. So, we've had all these problems with the ATC. I think Jeff Pugh, who was running ATC, is now running the airport.
I think he's is he interim airport director? Because they applied for an interim air traffic control manager, didn't they?
Yeah. I think there's still problems, although not to worry, there's a refugee display upstairs on the first floor, so obviously everything will be all right. As far as, you've been doing your roving reports around the schools, interesting to note that all the students want to drive, or they are driving. None of them are cycling, as far as I've heard from all the schools that you've been to. A little sad that a few of them said that they loved lockdowns and playing online games in their chair for 6 hours.
Well, I think it's the fact that they got used to it and said they got emotionally attached to their phones and to their tablets and to their computers. But I'll be honest with you, Julian, I think it wasn't just young people who did that.
No, I think you're right, and perhaps that was partly by design, perhaps, I don't know. I did notice, though, in their statements, they were saying that they didn't really know any politics, but quite a few of them have been sort of, shall we say, quite negative about the US administration. And there's a question that I'd like you to ask on the next one, but just briefly, one of the students said that an alcoholic had been hired to run the military. Now, that would be referring to Pete Hegseth, who is now the 29th Secretary of Defence. That was an anonymous allegation right before the Senate confirmation hearing, which I find interesting timing, that most of the argument against him, and he was basically having to address the fact that these were anonymous allegations. Nobody was mentioning anything, but what perhaps is not widely known is that 42 highly decorated military veterans wrote a letter supporting Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defence, saying that he'd actually been inactive. He's got 2 Bronze Stars, which are above a Purple Heart, Army Commendation Medal, Expert Infantryman Badge, which is not easy to get because you have to be, under fire in active war zones. He volunteered for Afghanistan, Iraq as well. So, what I'd like you to ask these students next time, if they do come saying these things again, where are they getting this from? I'd just like to know where they're getting these ideas from without really... Because, if we're going to teach them politics, then it has to be the whole story. I mean, it can't just be sort of... You know what I mean?
When you were 16, Julian, did you pay attention to politics?
Well, you used to get, there would be certain, shall we say, there were certain strong characters that you would come across and you'd hear it on the news. But of course, 16-year-olds are more interested in other things. Yeah. And I noticed also one or two of them seemed concerned to make it known that they're not rebellious. So, the people that tend to stand out are rebels, aren't they? So, it's slightly sad that students are sort of saying that they don't want to be seen as rebellious.
Well, I think the point that they were making was that, and it was a question that I purposely asked, is what do older people not understand about younger people? And they were saying that, we're not all rebels. We're not all... I don't think that means they don't have a rebellious streak. It just means they don't go around causing trouble.
Yeah, no, there is a difference with that. But it just seemed that, people sort of noses in their phones or playing on games and all the rest of it. It's kind of, there's just this kind of, there's a lack of social kind of, you'll remember as well as I do. I mean, it used to be packed on that prom. You watch some of Charles Gard's videos. I mean, you couldn't move 2 feet without there being a bar or a restaurant or something around. Yeah. I don't know, just last thing. Have you got 1 more minute?
Yeah, okay.
An update on assisted dying. I've noticed Canada introduced assisted dying in 2016 under their name Medical Assistance in Dying or MAID. The total number of people that were under that MAID in 2016 when it started was 1,018. 4 years later, in 2020, the number was 7,611. And then when non-terminal diagnoses became available in 21, basically they opened up the taps to people who were saying that they were suffering. That went to 10,000 the next year. And the Canadian government's most recent fifth report is out. That was published in 24 and is up to the end of 23. And the number in 2023 that went under assisted dying was 15,343, which is 15 times the number when it started and double the 2020 number before they opened up the taps. And I noticed the BBC reported just last December gone that of all the deaths in Canada now, 1 in 20 are assisted dying, and that's only just behind the Netherlands.
Okay. All right.
So,
All right. We appreciate it. All right, Julian, thanks for that. Good to hear from you.
Thanks, Andy. Cheers.
All right. Isn't Manhunt a more sophisticated game of hide and seek? Says G. Who plays Manhunt? We were talking to the students at St Ninians the other day. Manhunt's a game which is a bit like Tick or Tig when we were kids. It involves a lot of running and finding the targets who are hiding, basically, so as not to get caught, says Marie, this is. Vivian's on now. Hi, Vivian.
Hiya, Andy. Eddie was on talking about the money that was taken for the hospital. It was 45 million.
Oh, was it?
And they never said they'd pay it back. And I think it's disgusting. All the money that's been wasted in this island, that was given to build the hospital so it could be built. And yet nobody's bothered to return it. And now you're going to be short of money in 47.
2047. It's far away. Crikey. That you'll be You'll be 53 in 2047, won't you, Vivian?
Oh, definitely. I'll be under the sod by then.
Okay. Me too as well.
But the other thing I was going to comment on? I heard you talking about, but it's gone. I'm afraid that's what happens to me every now and again now.
All right.
But no, it was 45 million that was taken from the insurance pot to pay off building the hospital.
Okay, all right, thanks for calling.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Now, 12 minutes before 1. I just wanted to say, says 184, how brilliant the scheme for the Manx Youth Games is. Children years 4 to 9, I think, are able to take part in training in a wide range of sports from January to May. There's a games day when the North, South, East and West play against each other. My child's doing basketball, has 2 hours of coaching at the NSC for £1. It's a brilliant scheme. Children meet other children from other schools, learn teamwork and keep fit, maybe discover a new sport. Well done to the team running it.
When the Mannin Line's not on air, call Manx Radio to leave your opinion for broadcast on 682 631.
Valentine's Day is almost upon us, and here on Manx Radio we're giving you the chance to be a big romantic winner. We've teamed up with Hotel Halvard in Douglas to give one lucky listener the chance to win a luxury overnight stay for 2 with dinner and breakfast included. All you have to do is listen out tomorrow, Valentine's Day, for Cupid's quiz question. As soon as you hear it, head to manxradio.com and submit your answer. Don't miss your chance to win this Valentine's Day with Hotel Halvard and your nation station, Manx Radio.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Andy, the other regional airlines we used to have, Citywing, Manx 2 and Euromanx. We don't have them anymore, but you just wonder, as Michelle Haywood said, they're talking to other airlines who it is. I know in Ireland they've got, what's it called? Is it called... Aer Lingus. It's an Aer Lingus regional airline. That's it. I think they have CityJet in Ireland as well. So we'll see. Well done to Julie Edge for sticking up for her constituents, says Dave, and all of us pensioners. Dr. Anderson claims this will be the end of the black hole problems as well, as long as government keeps swelling and not slimming. As per numerous reports, including Lord Lisvane's, the problem will continue. You need to mail your MHKs to support Julie Edge in her quest. And on the WhatsApps, you need to get in touch with... So, I've got somebody. Sorry, you've sent a wrong message, whoever you are. St Ninian school children get their Trump information from the BBC, who have an anti-Trump bias. People forget he was democratically elected, said that correspondent. Well, as I say, the students there are 16 years of age. Where do you think they're going to get their information from? We've talked many times to students. Not many of them actually watch what we call linear television, i.e. television that's broadcast live. They get a lot of catch-up and they watch lots of videos online, YouTube and stuff like that. However, this government, or the Isle of Man government, Tynwald decided to make 16-year-olds eligible to vote. And it's kind of sending them into bat without a bat, because if they're 16 years of age and they have the vote and yet they don't know what the situation is and you know what the landscape is, then whose fault is that? Is it the government's or is it them themselves? All I'd ask is to try and cast your mind back to when you were 16, what was top of your mind? And be honest. So should the taxis on the Isle of Man be electric? Mike Birchall is the secretary of Isle of Man Unite Taxi Branch. That's the Union Unite Taxi Branch, and from the Manx Taxi Federation. This is Mike Birchall on electric taxis.
The technical position that we're in at the moment, they're not feasible to switch the whole trade to electric. If you look now, the mileage capabilities of the electric cars is increasing, I know that. But even a one-man car on the island can be doing up to 300 miles a day in busy periods. And the mileage figures that are given for electric cars, they rarely do the mileage per charge that they're saying, especially in conditions on the Isle of Man. If you've got hills, they use more battery. If you're sitting on the taxi rank in Douglas in the middle of winter, you want your heater on, it uses battery. Put your fog lights on, it uses battery. So if a car is stated at doing maybe 300 and something miles per charge, it's rarely going to reach that. Number two, there's been a lot of issues on the island over the last 12 months with insurance for electric vehicles. One insurer put their premiums up by about 300%. So that's another issue. I believe that there is no body repair shop currently on the island that can fix EVs. So I believe they have to be taken off island. And it's the cost of purchasing an electric vehicle as well. I mean, personally, I run my business and I buy vehicles that are maybe between 2 and 5 years old when I replace a vehicle. I wouldn't be wanting to buy an electric vehicle that had 2-year or 5-year-old batteries in it just in case the batteries go, because that's the main part of the vehicle. And if the batteries do go, you can't afford to replace them. In the next 10 years, I would say pretty much zero would be the chance of electrifying the whole taxi fleet on the Isle of Man.
Well, what do you think about this? If you're a taxi driver or if you use taxis a lot, how do you feel about it? I'm guessing if you're a passenger, you're really just bothered about cleanliness, warmth in the winter, and the cost of it all. But if you're a taxi driver, if you have a plate or maybe a couple of plates, what do you think about this? This is the climate change transformation people are saying we should look, another consultation it's going to be, as to whether the Isle of Man, basically it could be in the future that if you want to operate a taxi, it has to be electric. At the end of this particular nexus could be an all-electric fleet. The Climate Change Board needs to look at the amount of forestry requested from DEFRA to maintain the incinerator, says John. Apparently, John says it's 6,000 tonnes a year. How can that be sustained, says John? Well, part of it is, John, we're throwing diseased trees away, so it may be just diseased trees that they're doing. Government wants to save the climate. Have they got any plans to combat the asteroid that may hit the Earth before climate targets have been met, says G. You've been watching too many films. Everybody's telling me about Michael Bishop being the BMI baby boss. What about Dan Air? It went a long time ago, Fran. A long time ago. Maybe you should have a Manx Airlines type. Says Fran. Wind turbines, solar panels, battery vehicles. It's all over. Says Coops in Cambridge, save the Manx people lots of money and get rid of those who run the Climate Transformation Board. Well, they're in position. That's their job to do that. And it is public policy. And this is part of it, electric taxis, certainly a consultation on it. Why do we expect EasyJet to support Ronaldsway Airport when our government subvent their main competitor on the Isle of Man to the tune of £2.8 million per year? Says Mr. NT 109, we can't expect private business to support our connectivity if its competitors are offered an unfair advantage. It needs to be a level playing field, says this correspondent. Well, certainly Loganair does get some public money, and that's the suggestion of how much it is. Oh, Beth's been in touch, by the way. There is no planning filed for Earystane at the moment. We check the planning applications constantly, but there is no planning application filed for Earystane as of today. I've been an EV owner for nearly 3 years. It's the best move I ever made, and it's more enjoyable to drive than you might expect. I appreciate EVs are not for everyone, but it suits my needs for the driving I do on the Isle of Man and the potential to go off the island if needs be. So we understand that the planning is being prepared, and as yet no indication of exactly when it's going to be submitted. So, hey, remember, Thursday, 24th of April, Douglas Council, 12 vacant seats split between Central, East, North and South. Are you interested? Hey, back tomorrow with another open line, thanks to Chris Quirk.
WINT